It was a Tuesday. We don't know that, but it was something. A specific morning on a specific day 66 million years ago. And on that morning, nothing was wrong. A herd of Triceratops was grazing in what is now Montana. A Tyrannosaurus was moving through a forest that no longer exists. Pterosaurs were riding thermals above a shallow sea that would one day become Kansas. It was an ordinary day. And then something appeared in the sky. Not dramatically, not with any warning that meant anything to the animals below. Just a point of light that got brighter. Slowly at first, then faster, and then so fast that by the time any living creature on the surface of the earth could have registered what was happening, it was already over. The impact came first, then the fire, then the dark. It came from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. A rock, mostly rock, some metal, approximately 12 kilometers across. To put that in scale, 12 kilometers is roughly the distance from one end of a large city to the other. Now imagine that city-sized object traveling through space at roughly 20 kilometers per second. At that velocity, you could travel from New York to London in roughly 4 minutes. The asteroid had been traveling through space for billions of years before that morning. It had no trajectory change, no warning signal, no way of knowing what it was about to hit. It was just a rock moving through the dark, following the same path it had always followed, until Earth got in the way. The angle of entry mattered. Scientists studying the Chicxulub crater have determined that it hit at roughly 60 degrees, not straight down, at an angle. At 60 degrees, the impact sprayed material sideways and upward with maximum efficiency. It turned the asteroid and a significant portion of the Yucatan Peninsula into vapor in less than a second, and fired that vapor into the upper atmosphere at hypersonic speed. The asteroid that ended the reign of the dinosaurs wasn't just an explosion, it was a carefully angled catastrophe. In the first second after impact, a crater nearly 200 kilometers across began to form. In the first minute, the shock wave from the impact was traveling outward through the Earth's crust at speeds that would level everything within 1,000 kilometers, not from the blast in the air, but from the ground itself. The planet shook. Everything near the impact site didn't just die, it ceased to exist in any recognizable form. The animals right next to it didn't suffer. They had no time. The Triceratops in Montana was more than 3,000 kilometers away. It had more time. Not much, but more. Scientists believe it would have seen a flash on the southern horizon, brighter than anything it had ever experienced. Brighter than the sun, briefly. It would have felt warmth, then heat, then something beyond the capacity of any biological nervous system to process. The thermal pulse from an impact of this scale would have been sufficient to ignite vegetation across much of the Western Hemisphere within the first few hours, not slowly, all at once. The animals that survived the initial impact and the firestorm faced something in some ways worse. The debris the impact had thrown into the upper atmosphere was now raining back down through the atmosphere worldwide. Researchers call this the spheral layer, a thin band of glassy droplets that solidified as they fell back to Earth. You can find it in rock formations around the world, a precise geological fingerprint of that day 66 million years ago. As those particles fell, they generated heat, a lot of heat. Scientists studying the impact have calculated that the re-entry of ejecta into the atmosphere would have produced global infrared heating intense enough to essentially broil the surface of the planet for roughly an hour or two after impact. An hour of global oven. Anything that wasn't underground or underwater had no meaningful chance of surviving it. The dinosaurs that survived the impact itself, the ones far enough away, now faced a second wave. Shelter wasn't a concept most of them had. Burrows were small, cover was limited. The animals that made it through this phase were, statistically, the smaller ones. If the dinosaurs that survived the first day thought the worst was over, they were wrong. The impact had kicked so much material into the upper atmosphere that sunlight was effectively blocked for months, some scientists say years. The sulfur dioxide from the evaporated limestone reacted with water vapor to form sulfuric acid aerosols, particles small enough to stay suspended in the upper atmosphere for a very long time. The temperature dropped, globally, rapidly, by estimates ranging from 10 to 20 degrees Celsius across much of the planet, in some regions potentially more. Photosynthesis effectively stopped. Without sunlight, plants couldn't grow. Without plants, the herbivores that survived the impact had nothing to eat. Without herbivores, the carnivores that survived had nothing to hunt. The food chain didn't collapse from the top, it collapsed from the bottom. A Tyrannosaurus that had survived the asteroid impact, the firestorm, and the broiling re-entry of ejecta now faced something it had never faced before: an empty world. Not violent, not burning, just empty and getting colder. Researchers studying this phase, the impact winter, believe it lasted somewhere between 1 and several years, long enough that any animal requiring thousands of calories every day simply couldn't find enough food. The dinosaurs didn't die in one day. Most of them starved. Not everything died. This is important, often misunderstood, and essential to understanding why you exist. Crocodilians survived, turtles survived, sharks survived. Many species of birds, which are technically dinosaurs, survived. Small mammals burrowed down and waited it out. What did the survivors have in common? They were opportunistic eaters, things that could eat almost anything, including decaying organic matter. The mammals that survived the impact were not impressive creatures. They were small, mostly nocturnal, probably something like modern shrews or possums in terms of ecological role. Not dominant, not powerful, not even particularly interesting by the standards of the world they were hiding in. But they were flexible, and in the aftermath of the impact, flexibility was the only currency that mattered. Within a few million years, a blink of geological time, those small survivors would begin diversifying into every ecological niche the dinosaurs had abandoned. The reign of the mammals had begun. And somewhere, eventually, down a very long chain of small, flexible creatures adapting to a slowly recovering world, something would appear that would dig up the bones of the animals that had dominated this planet for 165 million years and try to understand what happened to them. The asteroid didn't kill the dinosaurs with the impact. It killed them with everything that came after: the fire, the heat, the dark, the cold, the silence of a food chain that had been severed at its roots. The non-avian dinosaurs, the ones we draw in books, the children make plastic toys of, the ones that ruled every continent on Earth, didn't go out with a fight. They went out the way most living things do, quietly, one by one, running out of options in a world that had stopped making sense. The last Triceratops didn't know it was the last. The last T-Rex didn't either. They were just animals at the end of a very bad day that had turned into a very bad year. The rock that hit the Yucatan that morning was 12 kilometers across. The planet it changed is the one you're standing on.